Hey everybody, this is Vamsi here, and it's been a long time that I have come online and did a Facebook Live. I've been working on a few things back at my business, but I'm sure people who are following on my Facebook profile and a few other places where I've been talking about what I've been doing. So there is the secret project that I've been working on of late, almost from last 4 to 5 weeks, where I kind of seen a lot of gaps in the market as it is, and I thought there is a huge void that probably needs to be filled, and that's an area that I have been really been interested of late to work on. All thanks to the virtual summit that I did called the Impact Marketing Summit. So this secret project that I have been working on is nothing but my podcast. So it's called the Authority Entrepreneurs podcast. So essentially, as the name suggests, the podcast is basically targeted at people who are currently suffering from not being an expert, not being an authority in their space. So this is something that I have realized when I was really doing the Impact Marketing Summit. So when I was not that person who did the Impact Marketing Summit, I was still an expert. I spent about 13 years in the corporate world doing sales and marketing, and that kind of didn't really break the ice as it is. When I came into this world, I know a lot of people have already heard my story in terms of how many shiny objects I chased, and the amount of money, time I wasted trying to figure out what my thing is. But even at that point in time, there was a lot of stuff that I was doing, irrespective of how many things I was chasing at one single point. But what I realized when I was doing Impact Marketing Summit was just, like the pre and post of Impact Marketing Summit. The pre was, even if I was a sales and marketing expert, which I was back in the day in the corporate world, people would not really give a lot of importance to what I was doing, simply because they don't see me as an authority in my niche. You know what I mean, right? So when you're not an authority in your niche, one of the things that kind of happens is people don't have the luxury of spending their valuable time on entrepreneurs who are still not seen as an authority in what they are doing. So that kind of really hurt me with whatever I was trying to do, whether it was affiliate marketing, funnel building, a direct sales opportunity that I was pursuing. So there were multiple things that I was doing, but what I realized is the fact that if you are not perceived as an authority in what you're doing, I think people really don't have the luxury of spending their time on watching your Facebook lives or going through your blog post or a video that you have uploaded to YouTube. So there's, even if you chalk out some of the most important or the most valuable pieces of content on internet that can exist in the next few years, people may not take the note of it because they would not really have the confidence that you can actually do that. So the difference between an expert and an authority that I have kind of late realized is the fact that you could be really good with what you're doing, but if that expertise that you have is not recognized by hundreds of people in the market or in the niche that you are kind of trying to become the category king, you're not an authority. So that's when it strike that I personally speak to a lot of experts in this space of marketing, entrepreneurship, technology, leadership, whatever you might want to name. But then I realized that I'm actually talking to experts, not authorities. And that is where I saw that there is a huge void in the market in terms of how people can transition from an expert to an authority in what they are doing. And that's what kind of pushed me to go and launch my own podcast, because I thought podcast is the most easiest platform today. When you look at all the other set of noises that you can kind of bring in, I mean, if you do a Facebook live, it hardly has any life to it. Same is with Instagram post, the stories or anything like that. So podcasts and YouTube today, I think, is a very powerful combination in terms of the life of the content that you are chalking out every single day. So that's when I realized, yeah, I already have my YouTube channel. I did a few lives like this almost same time last year, where I was summarizing .com secrets and the one funnel away challenge. But then now I thought it is time that, because now I've kind of seen the numbers. I've been talking to these people every single day, day in and day out, where they know their stuff. They are doing really good business inside what they are doing. But if they can transition from that expert to an authority, they can charge more for their expertise, whether it's their coaching, whether it is their courses, their masterminds, inner circle, whatever that you may want to call. So that's something that I thought would be the core concept, so one of the things that I wanted to talk was who would really benefit from this podcast. So anyone, who is, if you're an entrepreneur, a marketer, a course creator, a coach, or a solopreneur, a freelancer, basically you have your own business, and you have been doing good. You either you are kind of trying to start one for on your own, and getting into this world of entrepreneurship, or you already got the start. You have transitioned from a 9 to 5 job, and got into doing this full time, but you are now looking for something which will give you that scale, put you on the next pedestal in what you are doing. This podcast is for you. And that, I'll tell you what the reason why this podcast is for you is because one of the things that I'm going to really do, and I promised myself that this is something that I would do, and it's not another shiny object that I'm chasing, because now everything that I'm doing right now is centered around this podcast. So I'm really get I've already recorded like about close to 20 episodes now, and of this is something that I'm really seriously working my day out, doing the outreach that it requires, the kind of effort that it requires. So each day, whether it's a solo episode that I'm talking about, or majority of the podcast that I really plan to is to bring these successful 6 7 figure entrepreneurs, or even if I'm lucky in some days, the 8 figure entrepreneurs, bring them on the show, understand what kind of struggle they had, when did they eventually start, what kind of triggered them to become an entrepreneur. Because no one starts with the tag of entrepreneurship while they come out of their mother's womb, right? So there's something that must have kind of triggered in their life, and that kind of pushed them into doing entrepreneurship for the rest of their living, to take care of their family, to earn the money, to kind of achieve the kind of dreams that they have. So these are those successful people who kind of figured out what they really wanted to do inside their business, and have seen all those roadblocks, seen all those bottlenecks, some of the biggest failures, really kind of gone through that huge transformation with respect to the mindset, which I think most of us today struggle with. One failure kind of pushes out of this world of entrepreneurship. One failure kind of pushes back to the 9 to 5 job, which we really don't want to get back to. So I'm really getting all these successful entrepreneurs onto this podcast, and asking them these pivotal questions in terms of what kind of transformation had they gone through, not from just being an expert, but being seen as an authority in their niche, whether they can be a graphics designer, a copywriter, a funnel builder, or anything for that matter. An expert or an authority, especially in the kind of field that we are into, requires us to understand all of these elements, whether it is how to create beautiful funnels, coaches, course creators, graphics designers, video editors, I mean anything. But the core concept that I kind of want to talk to them and understand on this particular podcast is, they have seen this, right? I mean, for people who are starting out, or they have just kind of have come into this world trying to understand, trying to get the direction. Because one of the things that I certainly feel bad when I started my entrepreneurial journey 16 months ago is how I wished I had someone to tell me where I should go, who I should be serving, or who am I really looking forward to serving, what kind of niche that something makes me, gets up every single day, doesn't get the bore out of me. I mean, so those kind of things are really important, and I still see a lot of people struggling with that. So These are some pertaining questions that I want to ask all the successful entrepreneurs that I'm getting on the podcast, so that everyone who is listening to each and every episode that's going to get on, whether it is on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify, or any other platform that you kind of want to go and listen to, the one point agenda is understand how these people have already gone through the kind of struggle. Kind of helps you, rewire your mindset, see what the kind of path they have already walked, because most of them, or most of us, we are trying to go through the same path. So if we can understand, decode what they have already gone through, and doesn't really repeat the kind of mistakes, but when they talk about the failures, the kind how they took success and never really took that to their head, and still looking for those small little successes every single day. Those are the kind of things that I am personally looking forward to learning from each one of them, because entrepreneurship is a continuous journey of learning every single day. Because this is something that kind of keeps you on your toes, because one bad day or one bad month can put you out of business, right? So this is learning that I'm personally looking forward to from each one of them. And when I thought that, okay, if that is something that I want to do, why don't I actually go and serve a lot of other people that I'm already seeing who are struggling with this? Because if they can just transition that little, I mean it's not 100% transition from being an expert to an authority, right? It's more about building your network, getting the word out, let more people talk about how good a person you are with respect to that one skill, and why they should really give that one chance that kind of makes them your long term client. So we all have those good days where we get that business from those people who we kind of really closely interact, and they love the kind of journey that we are going through, impressed with what we have already done. Like, I'm currently helping about 2 to 3 people who are looking forward to launching their own virtual summits. But if I want to really position myself better than what I am already seen in the market, it's basically my network. As people say, network, your network is your net worth. So it is very, very important that you kind of start putting out the word. Even if you are not the video guy, you probably don't like being on Facebook lives like this. I mean, that's the kind of struggle that you probably have to go through. Like, that's the mindset change that you probably want to go through. So that's essentially what I really want to establish, or really kind of want to register through my podcast, which is called the Authority Entrepreneur. So even if you look at the nomenclature, I mean, the naming convention that I kind of arrived at, it's authority and entrepreneurs. So people who are entrepreneurs, who already have an authority in what they are doing. For example, if I take the name of a few entrepreneurs that I've already interviewed for my podcast, for example, Don Mamone, he's probably the guy who almost everyone inside the ClickFunnels family know. He spent tons of time in the hospitality industry, helped some of the biggest corporations with their events, and worked with Russell Brunson and his team on Funnel Hacking Live and some of the biggest events. So those kind of people who are on the podcast, people like Mike Milt, who is an expert graphics designer, spent 20 years doing it. So these are the kind of people that I want to bring more and more on the podcast. And the target is to actually at least interview one entrepreneur every single day. So that's something that I'm kind of working on right now. So if you are that entrepreneur, if you are that marketer who's already established, it's not that you are really doing bad in your business, but there is always that scope for bettering yourself in terms of how many people your product can reach, so that the impact with which you have created all of your product, service, a course, or whatever that you're doing inside your business, it reach more people, so that the impact on the world in the little bit that you can do is getting much bigger in terms of its reach, and how you want to really change the lives of those people who follow you, and kind of want to follow the movement that you have started. So that is exactly what are the kind of people that I want to go and serve, right? So if you resonate with what I am kind of helping you understand what this podcast is about, then it's basically launching tomorrow, so 13th of November. So I would probably come back in a few hours from now, giving you more details about how you guys can really go and help me hit those charts, because the first few days is really important for letting the platforms like iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher know that there are a lot of people who are interested in hearing what you are doing. So that way, all my friends out there who we have talked on various number of occasions, on different platforms for different reasons, I need your help, to be able to get the word out about Authority Entrepreneurs Podcast. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to, kind of, putting all that content back at you guys, so that each of these interviews that I am kind of doing is for you, so that, if one episode from one particular entrepreneur can change the way you think, or some input from them which kind of transition their business from a 5 figure to a six, or a six to a 7 figure, and that can be helpful inside your business as well. I think those are the kind of small wins that I am looking forward to. If that's what will serve the purpose of doing this podcast, with the amount of time, the amount of money, and the amount of effort that I'm going to put in this podcast, that's the kind of small wins that I'm really looking forward to. So I'll come back tomorrow and give you more details about how you can help me, get my podcast the kind of launch that I'm looking for. So thank you so much for all the love, getting that engagement and all the posts that I've been putting out about the interviews that I've been doing for the podcast. And all the podcasts, by the way, will be a part of my YouTube channel. And what I am also planning to do is interview these people inside my closed group, my closed Facebook group, which is called the Authority Entrepreneurs Group. So if you would be interested in getting that notifications about every single live that I'm going to do for this podcast, where I'm going to get all these successful entrepreneurs on board, and getting all their secrets out, like I did with my summit. So just go and join the Facebook group. It's called the Authority Entrepreneurs as well. So I would be interviewing them live inside that group, and it will also be available on YouTube channel. So I'm kind of repurposing the content. There's no complexity in terms of what I'm trying to do with this. So I'm going to just go live with the speaker or the guest on the podcast inside my Facebook group, which will also be streamed to my YouTube channel. And the audio, and for people who have not used StreamYard as a software that I'm using right now, which you can see right now, will also allow me to download the audio file as it is, and that kind of goes into my podcast. So that's basically what I'm trying to do, with one piece of content going into multiple different platforms, and kind of doing the content syndication and trying to get it more and more on different platforms. And it kind of helps me reach more people out there. So that's about it. And thank you so much for joining. I think there are a few people that are on the podcast. Thanks, Harish. Thanks, RJ, and thanks, Nick, for joining the live. And Jim, thanks again. Being so helpful with whatever I'm doing. And Billy, thank you so much as well. I'm sure you're also launching yours very soon. So that's about it from my end. And thank you so much for everything. And I'll come back tomorrow, and we'll give you all the details that you would require to help me on this journey of launching my podcast. And that's it. Thank you so much. If in wherever part of the world, you have a great day, and I'll see you in a few hours. Thank you.